And our fifth main topic today gets submitted to us by Alton Wang. And Alton Wang writes, even with all the drama with Twilight boy, if part of the DCEU, it is official that the Batman has exceeded $500 million in box office worldwide in less than 2 weeks. With an 85% critic rating, 88% audience on Rotten Tomatoes, and the Oscar rumors, does this prove that the Batman did not need to be R to be good? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, going in, for those of you who may not remember, going into the Batman, Rob and I, and we on the show, we were cautiously optimistic about what the box office potential of it was. Because we said, there's a lot of reasons why it's going to make money, but, and we said this for months, there's a number of factors you got to keep in mind, but what's going to hold it back a bit. Number one is the fact that the DCU and even the Batman's character right now is kind of a mixed bag with audiences. It's not, people have a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth, even though I have really liked the Batman we've been having. For some people, the whole state of the DCU has left a little bit of a bad taste in some people's mouths. You add on top of that the whole Robert Pattinson Twilight boy group of people out there who only ever knew Robert Pattinson from Twilight and therefore thought it was ridiculous that he got cast as Batman. So there was that. That was a huge part of it as well. You add on top of that we are still indeed in pandemic recovery. And while some people may say, well, Spider-Man No Way Home proved that's not a thing anymore. No. Spider-Man No Way Home was a radical exception. All the other films kind of prove it's still a factor. I mean, the Variety article said that 25% of average moviegoers who were regular moviegoers prior to the pandemic have still not gone back to the movie theaters yet. Spider-Man No Way Home got a lot of them back, but there's still a lot of them that don't. So that was working against it. Also working against was the fact that there's a bit of confusion about Batman right now because we have multiple Batman running around. It's like, wait a minute, is this the Ben Affleck Batman? Isn't he in the Avengers? Some people, isn't this Batman in the Avengers? It's Justice League, Mom. Yeah, whatever. And we got Michael Keaton's Batman coming. Wait a second, I thought I heard big news that Michael Keaton was Batman now. Oh, no. I heard that Ben Affleck was coming back to be Batman. Well, of course, Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are coming back to be in The Flash. And so you take all those things, that's a lot of hurdles. And so while we all believe Batman's going to make money, you just got to be, realistic that there's also going to be some things that's going to keep it from reaching its full potential. Well, after less than 2 weeks, this movie's already crossed $100 billion or $500 million worldwide. This comes from the folks at comicbook.com who write, the Batman is already on its way to catching up to Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice and Joker, but has already surpassed Batman Begins and the Tim Burton Joel Schumacher films. That it seems entirely reasonable that the Batman will go on to outgross the likes of Man of Steel, Aquaman, and Suicide Squad at the domestic box office as well. The real challenge will be if it can catch 2017's Wonder Woman, which brought in an impressive $412 million in the US alone. Two movies that the Batman will have trouble catching, however, are The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, which brought in $533.7 and $448 million at the domestic box office, respectively. That, of course, comes to us from comicbook.com. Now, look, we've already known that this movie is the biggest film of the year and the second biggest film since 2019. The only film that has outgrossed it is Spider-Man No Way Home, which had 1,000 advantages going for it over a movie like The Dark Knight. And when you consider how dark this movie is and how dark they advertised it, that this was not really something that was going to appeal. This wasn't a movie, nor was its marketing, saying, hey, families, come and see this movie. That's not what the marketing this did. This showed off car wrecks and explosions and nightmarish images and stuff like that. On top of all the other hurdles we talked about before, the fact that this thing opened as big as it did was impressive. The fact that it's made over 500 worldwide already is also quite impressive. Now, you are going to get people with agendas that are going to try to create this fantasy narrative out there. Well, if it didn't make 800 million already, it's a flop. All that kind of stuff. And some people well-meaning, because some people have it in their minds that any comic book movie makes $1 billion, which we obviously know is not true. But also aren't taking advantage of all the hurdles this film had to overcome. Listen, make no mistake about it. This movie making $500 million at this point, not even 2 weeks into its run, is a fantastic result for this film. When you consider all the moving pieces and everything that goes into what this movie is and what has made it what it is, make no mistake, and anybody who tries to tell you otherwise has an agenda. They're coming with it with a predetermined agenda to want to paint this thing as a failure. This thing has been a great success so far. And kudos to them, And, I'm still a little bit mad at Warner Brothers for pulling down my one video simply because we talked about one of the things. F you, Warner Brothers, for doing that. But aside from that,
they made it right.
They made it right. They got it right after I threw a little bit of a tantrum on Twitter, but they made it right. But still, I think this is a big win, Rob. This thing, what are we at? Day 12 of its release? Day 11 of its release? It's crossed $500 million for what it is. Win, not a win? What do you think has gone into making it as big or not as big as it is right now? How are you seeing this?
Well, I would like you. I think the film is both creatively and with audiences has been successful. I think that nowadays everyone throws or bandies about the $1 billion numbers as if that's the end all be all. You're coming off of obviously a superhero movie with Spider-Man No Way Home that you can compare this to. Which you shouldn't, because they're really, just because they have superheroes in them doesn't mean they're the same at all, really. I think it is a big success. I think audiences like the film. I think more importantly, the filmmakers succeeded in absolutely making the film they wanted to make. It is connecting with audiences. And I see this, I think it's going to make more money this weekend. It's probably going to be number one again. And it's going to continue to make more cash across the world. So, it is a success. Now, if you're going to say, well, it didn't make Spider-Man No Way Home money, well, that's true. But how many movies in the history of movies have? What, 2, 3?
Yeah, none except 2 or 3.
Yeah, so it's like you don't even talk that way. This is rebooting the Batman franchise again. And I would look more back at Batman Begins and compare and contrast with that. And maybe if you want to adjust for inflation, okay. And based on production budget, those are things we can talk about. But other than that, I think it's a success.
I want to point out something else here too. Let's see. I want to bring up these numbers here. For some people who just can't wrap their heads around and understand the basic scenario of what we're dealing with here, about understanding the multiple reboot factor, about understanding the whole thing. Robert Pattinson is Batman, backlash, the whole part about the confusion of it, the whole part about this was clearly not a family film and all this kind of stuff. I want to point something out and remind everybody about something. And that is this, is that in just 11 days, because I see some people actually going, well, wait a minute, this isn't all that good for a Batman movie. Really? Really? Because there was a Batman and Superman movie that came out. And this is going to catch that domestically. It's going to catch that within the next couple of days. This Batman movie is going to do better than a Batman and Superman together movie pre-pandemic.
That costs twice as much.
That costs twice as much for them to make. So yeah, I'm sorry, but if you don't look at this and recognize that this is a win, especially considering all the things that it had going against it, unlike, say, a Spider-Man No Way Home, which had a lot of things going for it and was targeting kind of a different audience. I mean, that one was going, families, come on in and watch Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie was not. And you got 3 other Batmen. You got the whole thing. If you don't recognize that this I don't know what to tell you. Like, I simply don't know how to help you if you don't recognize this for what it is. And by the way, it's not like we're talking like, even if this was the final tally, even if it was done, the box office run for the Batman was done, it made $505 million. All right. Hey, considering all the things working against it, great. But it's not done. This thing's going to hit $750, $800 million. It's going to easily eclipse domestically what Batman versus Superman made. It's easily eclipsed what Batman Begins made. It's going to get close to what like movies like The Dark Knight made when Batman was the most popular thing and the hottest thing in the world. So yeah, this is a win. And I don't think it could have been done any better. But that's just my kind of take on it.
But
question is for you.
right.
What's that?
You're right.
Yeah. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? The Batman in less than 2 weeks has crossed $500 million despite all the things that were working against it. Maybe you don't think that's great. Maybe you think it's fantastic. Maybe you think it's better than we think it is. Whatever your guys' thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, ExpressVPN. Now, guys, does it make sense that the same company who controls half the online retail also passively eavesdrops on your private conversations at home? Or what about the idea that a single company controls 90% of the internet searches, runs your email service, and gets to track everything you do on your smartphone? You guys know that big tech is more powerful than most countries are, and they profit by exploiting your personal data. It's time to put a layer of protection between your online activity and these tech juggernauts, and that's why I use ExpressVPN. You see, when you run ExpressVPN on your device, the software hides your IP address, something that big tech companies can use to personally identify you. So ExpressVPN makes your activity harder to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your internet data to keep you safe from hackers and eavesdroppers on your network. So stop handing over your personal data to the big tech monopoly that mines your activity and sells your information. Protect yourself with a VPN that I trust to keep me safe online. Visit expressvpn.com/Campea. That's expressvpn.com/Campea to get 3 extra months free. Go to expressvpn.com/Campea right now to learn more.